Hi, welcome to the Cultural Barrier. My name's Bal.
And my name is Taj.
On this week's episode, we'll be talking about should relationships stay on the surface level? Now, you might know from a few weeks ago, we had a podcast about oversharing. So now we're going the other extreme. Should we be keeping it to the level that we don't go too deep, but we just keep a relationship mumbling on, bumbling on? Taj, I've got quite a lot to say on this one because this was a conversation I had with my husband when we went out for our anniversary because I
Oh,
was in, yes, because I was annoyed about certain relationships where perhaps we weren't getting into the nitty gritty. I mean, to the point where we're not even meeting or talking in certain relationships where we were close and then we're not close because we're not close.
so you're not talking about like marriage partners, relationships. You're talking about generally surface level for general friends and stuff like that, acquaintances and.
Well, I don't know how your marriage is, but I'm sure you have to talk to your partner every so
Oh,
often.
wait, so are you talking about partners?
No, I was talking about relationships with other people because I
Oh,
talked to my husband.
how could you keep it surface level with your husband?
That was
Okay.
a good catch. Anyone would think Taj is keeping it surface level with her husband, but obviously not. That was a mistake. Go on. So yeah, the conversation was, you're close to certain people, and then you grow apart essentially, and maybe they haven't got time for you, you don't have time for them. I mean, to be fair, I've got time for everybody if they have time for me, in which if they don't, I've sort of cut them off now because like if you don't have time, I don't have time, we're good. But it's a sad situation. So where our podcast was about going in too deep, talking about things that were too revealing, perhaps you shouldn't be talking to people about, this is the opposite, where it's just like, hi, you okay? Okay, cool, all right, cool, bye bye. In which, so that was where my husband was like, well, look, if you need to keep that relationship going, like, do it. Right.
Because I was thinking, when does your husband go into any relationship where it goes deep? He's just surface level with everyone.
Right. So I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, why would you waste your time talking to someone if you didn't want to know about each other? Like, you have to get in deep, you have to overshare, right? But
No,
I've got issues with that now because people don't like me anymore for the same reason.
it depends what the relationship is and who it's for. With, for example, like I got in contact with an old work friend who I
Yeah.
haven't. Oh, there's another one that was meant to email. I still haven't emailed over a couple of months ago. But anyway,
Yeah.
and in certain circumstances, like for example, with the really old friends, and you're just saying hi, how are you doing? Are you alive? Kind of thing. That's
Yeah.
surface level. You're not going to go, how are you doing? Tell me what's going
But that's
on.
social media then. You just contact them on social media. I mean, the
Yeah.
fact that you emailed them, that pretty much tells you it's not going to be going any deeper anyway. It's a email,
Yeah.
right? But then what about, so he was saying like, this was where the whole thing of I'm starting to get closer to my friends and my family. That was the sort of conversation we were going down. So like with my friends, I can talk about, I can overshare, I can get a bit deeper. Whereas now with family, I'm finding that it needs to stay surface level just so that they carry on talking to me. Because otherwise they don't want to talk. And it's like, it was my point. It's like, why are you wasting your time? If you just want to stay surface level, don't waste your time. Just stay at home and watch TV.
I think, for example, just me and your husband, we're like the opposite spectrum. He won't overshare, and I overshare too much and expect the other person to share a lot as well. But now I've come to the realization that people don't share as much as I do. So I'm starting to now actually make myself think, okay, don't tell them too much, don't tell them too much. And I
So
need to
this was
train myself and coach myself into doing that.
But this was the conversation we had on the last episode about oversharing.
Yeah.
But then, do you think it's right that now we're having relationships which are very much surface level?
It's again timing. What does that relationship mean to you? If it is a deep relationship, then you will overshare. But if it's someone that you're just a hi bye, that person doesn't really care or really want to know how are you doing. It's like, yeah, I'm okay. Like I have thought in certain circumstances, if someone asks me how am I doing, I'm going to tell them. But
And that's what you said last time, right?
yeah,
But then my question is, if you're in a room together and you're going to spend the next hour, maybe 2 hours, if they're lucky enough to be with me for 2 hours, right? Why would we not have a proper conversation? Just like,
Depends
how's
why
your
you're
work?
in that. It depends why you're in that room.
Because you have to be in that room.
Is it because you're stuck in that room?
Yes.
Because the door won't open and it's jammed locked?
No, you are in that room because you have to be in that room because of how they're related to you,
Oh,
right?
okay. So then we're going family again.
Yeah, we're talking about family. I'm going to be really honest with friends that I want to spend time with. You're going to hear my deep thoughts. You're going to hear me oversharing. You're going to hear my inappropriate jokes. But that's why we're friends. If you didn't want to do that, you won't be my friend. And this is what he was saying. And I agree with that part of it, right? My issue is with family now, certain people, I'm keeping it surface level. We're barely going past, hi, how are you? And I'm like, well, I'm spending the next hour with you, next 2 hours with you. Why am I wasting my 2 hours of life? We've all understood that I'm 40 years old now. I have only got a limited amount of time left, right? So why am I wasting?
The end of the world, you're 40.
But the point is, I've only got a certain.
You're in your life after 40.
No, but what I'm saying is there's only so much energy I've got. There's only so much time I've got because my ticker's ticking along now.
So sometimes you keep those relationships because, for example, your parents are related to those people. So you want to keep the relationship because they are part of that relationship as well. So you do it for other people. So selfless relationship.
It's that selflessness. That makes more sense compared to. It's funny because Suk could say the same thing, but now you've said it. I'm like, that's a good point. That's exactly what it is.
And also because you want to know that they're okay, that they're alive. It's not like you want to cut off from them because okay, then that's a different thing.
But no, my thing is, why don't you cut off from? Why keep it to service level? Hi, like I'm spending 2 hours with you, and we're not going to go past. Hi, how are you? How was your week? Right? If we're not going to go past that, then why am I wasting 2 hours of my time? And that was my thing. But you have said something interesting there, and I agree with that. That's interesting.
It depends what cousin. If they're second cousins, you might not spend so much time. It might just be at weddings and stuff like that that you see them. So
I'm talking about first cousins as well now, though. Siblings are getting to that point now. And that's the issue. Like, how have we got to a point in our lives where we're talking about siblings and first cousins? Let's not go to second cousins because no one even meets those two that I've mentioned. Forget second cousins. Like,
I think because people have become so busy in their lives that they don't have time for each other.
do not agree with that. I do not agree. If you're going to put energy into anything, right? If you care enough about it, you will have time to do it. This whole time thing, where you're too busy, that's BS. That is because if you have prioritized that relationship, you will find the time. So I don't agree with that. Next excuse, hit me.
God, this is cutting deep with you, isn't it?
It does because I think it's sad for the people that I'm thinking about in my head. Like there's certain people, yeah, it is surface level, and I think you're right about what you said before, and that is completely true. Those are selfless relationships. You have to be there for someone else because
Well, if you're in a relationship and you're talking like cousins, sisters, brothers, or whatever, and you're getting on each other's nerves, then it is a case of give them space or cut off because then that isn't the right place for you to be. It's a toxic relationship.
But how can you get on someone's nerves if you don't talk to them and you don't spend any time with them?
Well,
I mean, I know I am
broken then that in itself means that the relationship's broken if you're not spending time with them. And
it's
you
done.
need to label it. That's the question.
Huh?
Do you need to label?
Huh? Can you get me?
40 years losing your hearing.
I keep talking over you. Sorry, go on. What?
Then that in itself, you don't need to label it. It's broken. If you're not meeting up with them, you're not calling them, then it's done. If you see them down the road, it's not like you're going to cross the road unless you're like.
Well, I don't see them. I live further from them.
But then the relationship's done. Then you don't need to worry. Why are you even worrying? You don't need to put a label. It's not like you need to put a label and put them in a box, and that's.
And that's the upsetting thing for me. For those relationships where I did care and do, otherwise I won't be talking about it, did and do care about those relationships and it's cut off from their end, I'm just like, And I have cut off, and you know who I'm talking about, right? I think you do.
Let's not get deep. Yeah.
Yeah. This is deep because I am just like, it's crazy, but it's on their part. And I get it. I can be pretty annoying.
And I think also it's about misinterpretation as well. You're saying it from your side, from their side, they might think that you're the evilest person in the world, and they might have come to that conclusion for a certain reason, and you don't know about it. They haven't discussed it with you. So that's how relationships break down, because there's that lack of communication.
And there lies the problem, the lack of communication.
Yeah.
But the only way you can actually realize that is by talking, right?
Yeah.
And doing it,
They
talking.
need to be both willing parties to do the talking. If there's one party that's not willing to talk and keeps going over, they're only going to be surface level,
Yeah.
then they're not moving beyond it, then I think it's pretty much done. You can't force someone to talk to you.
So on the other one, we're oversharing the other episode. If you're interested in that, please listen to the other episode. That's there. You've got your deeper friends, you've got your deeper relations as well. And then on the other side is keep it surface level, keep it high by for the selflessness. I like that. I think that's a really good, and that is seva, is part of our culture, our tradition, our religion, and all that sort of stuff.
I don't think it's seva.
But it kind of is sometimes, because you don't want to be there.
Nice.
It's true. But anyway, so let's call that seva. I like that. 10%. Right? But the other part is, if the other party is not game, then cut off. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, I'll give you permission.
It's interesting. Interesting. So what do you...
Why I think in the South Asian community we feel that we need to keep relationships going. I think that there's an element of that as well. And to be honest, as we become more and more westernized, we're realizing, I'm not saying the Western is the right way, but you change to the environment that you're in.
Okay. So now we've got different relationships. You got the deep, you got the surface level, and then you got no relationship. So now we got three thingies.
Why do we need to categorize it? It is what it is. Or is that how it works, that it needs to be pigeonhole everyone into the different categories? Maybe that's how you work. That's fine. That's how you work.
I feel like this is a counselling session now. But no, okay, you've made a good point. I think we're at the end of this episode, because I didn't completely agree with my husband's conclusion of keep it surface level. I'm like, then why am I wasting my time? Don't even keep it surface level. Let me watch TV. Let me watch Married at First Sight, which is completely...
I've got another one. So let's flip it a bit more. So it's the in-laws side, and you need to keep it just to keep your relationship with your partner. And that's why you have to keep it surface level.
By the way, can I just say that whole conversation we just had, I included my in-laws because they are relatives as well.
Oh, okay. Then it goes into a different territory, I would say. For
God.
With your own, you kind of got a choice, but with your in-law side, if, for example, your partner is close with that person or wants to keep that relationship, you're kind of...
Which they should.
You wouldn't stop them, because you have no right to control someone else's relationship.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to keep relationships, but if there isn't that element of respect for yourself, then that's a different thing.
I've got one. Okay, added to this. So there was a social media post. I talk about social media way too much. I'm obviously looking way too much at it. And basically what it was it was from an apprentice. I think it was Nurinder. And she's doing, I don't look at her social media very often, but this popped up and I thought it was really interesting. And what she said was, my mum never said anything against my dad's family, and her siblings and her are close to her buwa and the other relatives or whatever, right? Regardless of what their relationships were. Now, if Nurinder wants to come on, like, please do, because I think it was a really interesting conversation. But it did make me think, because there was another social media post I saw a few months ago where it was like, if you can't respect like the mother, then actually do her children need to then mix with that same family?
I was going to go over to that. Yeah.
And I'm like, they're two really interesting, obviously the opposite views, and I don't know where I stand. So I used to be where Narinda's thing was it doesn't matter what your relationship was, the kids should always, and I 100% was on that. But then I started to get a bit closer to the other side, because I'm like, hold on, it's that respect thing. If you haven't respected the person who gave birth to them, then why would you allow your kids into that environment? And one step further, in the good old days, women wouldn't tell their families
I was just
what
about to
they.
go on that.
Okay,
Yeah.
you can go on that. You talk about. And
Okay, so
go on.
I was going to say, if you don't have a good relationship, for example, with a certain person, do you go and tell your children about that relationship? For me, I think you should, so your children realize that it's not roses and whatever the other saying is, that the realistic part of the relationship, that this, for example, person isn't treating you well. I think that's important to show to them because that's the realistic side of the relationship. And then if you say, like, if you're upset or something, they don't think that you're a cow, basically, that there's a reason why you're upset, for example.
And this was what I was going to touch on earlier. In the good old days, people wouldn't tell their families and wouldn't tell their children. And then the blame ended up lying on the woman.
So as the
Or,
South Asian women, again, they had to keep their personal feelings quiet. It was like, shut up and get on with it.
yeah. So now I'm like, and I want my kids to get on with everyone's kids. I think that's, children want to be around children. You want to have a good time. And that's a relationships. That's your family and that's your friends, mainly family now I'm talking about, right? But I've started to drift of actually, I am starting to tell my daughter things because I'm like, you need to realize what the real world's like. It's not just the relationship
I
at
didn't
surface
say a
level.
daughter because I just thought I tell my daughter everything just because she's the oldest child. But it's interesting that you said that you tell your daughter, but yet your daughter's the youngest. Why don't you tell your son? Because I don't tell my son because my son doesn't listen, to be honest.
He doesn't care. So, and you're right, like, yeah, that's a good point. But he doesn't care. He didn't really ask. There was one thing that came up just a few weeks ago, and she asked. He didn't. I don't even think he realized, to be fair, right? Whereas she did. So I think she's a bit more emotionally intelligent, I guess. Nothing wrong with that. People got their own whatever, right? And
But
then,
then are we preparing our daughters to see? Like, I even said this, and I kind of regret. I said to my daughter, she's like, I don't care. I don't want to listen to it. And I'm like, don't worry. When you go through this, you'll understand. And
but then you're preparing her for that negative.
I'm not saying, but then preparing someone because you could go into something rosy. I've had friends where they thought, okay, it's going to be hunky dory, but it hasn't been, and it's like you're living in cloud cuckoo land. But then, am I being negative and setting up our younger generation to think that it's negative?
Well, I agree, and this has turned really serious all of a sudden, but I agree. I had a negative sort of thing. There's always that thing of daughter-in-law and mother-in-law. Actually, I get on really well with my mother-in-law. So it was the opposite, right? I'll let her know you did that, right? But yeah, you're right. Then you're setting people up. But then is it the reality of how you're seeing it? But it's not reality. It's your perspective of reality.
But then generally women and like in-laws and stuff like that, if they're not getting on, should you be telling your children about that? And
this has gone from the subject of keeping it surface level, which then we'll call it seva, and selflessness, for anyone that doesn't know what that is, in which case should we just keep it surface level so it doesn't go into that deepness? Should you always keep it surface level with certain
But then what do you talk about? This again is overlapping with the last podcast that we done, is what is surface level?
I don't know.
What do you eat for lunch?
Yeah, I don't know. Genuinely.
What colour are your carpets?
I mean, it's been a long time since I've been to some of those people's houses, so perhaps I could ask what colour their carpets are and their walls.
But how long can that conversation carry on for?
It doesn't. I've been in loads of surface level conversations. It's just silent, and you're just sitting there eating if you've gone to a restaurant, or just watching TV, which I haven't got a problem with because at least there's entertainment. I don't know. What do you talk about?
Situations. I remember this was ages ago. We've broken up from that family now, anyway. And like,
we sound like proper bitches. You know that. I don't break off all of them.
Anyway, and like there was no conversation amongst the adults, but then there was a child that it was I won't name names or anything like that, but it was a young child at that time, and that child was about 4 years old or something. Everyone was just looking at the child and like, oh, and it's like, yeah, we've got nothing to talk to each other about. Just sitting here eating samosa and looking at the child because we've got no other conversation.
Didn't you have a TV?
No, you were there as well. I'll tell you who it was afterwards. We were sitting in the garden, so there was no TV. You won't remember. So everyone was just talking, well, not talking, just eating samosa, and like there was no other conversation. And sometimes in circumstances like that, you don't want to say too much because then you don't want the other side to know too much about you. So if anything happens in the future, that they can't come and the backlash of them knowing too much about you as well.
Hold on, stop. I was there.
Don't try to remember what it was, because otherwise we're going to end up revealing what situation it was.
But then if I was there and you were there, why were we not talking?
Because there's a whole group. You don't talk. Just talk. What else? That'd be rude. But actually, now that's answered some of your questions. Sometimes you don't go deep into the conversation because you don't want to reveal too much about yourself or your family, just in case. I know this is being negative, but hey, this reality. Just in case there's a backlash and they come and there's a fight or whatever in the family, and they come back with that same thing that's happened.
But you're not going to sit there and talk about a fight that happened in the family, are
No,
you?
sometimes it might be my daughter run away or something. That's deep, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's not a surface level conversation you'd have with the people.
That's why you don't go surface. That's why you don't go deep, because you don't want to reveal something like that.
I mean, how quickly would you go that deep before you reveal that your daughter ran away? That's pretty deep.
All right, then it's about, well, what a layer of deepness is there then? So there's the, how do you make a roti kind of thing, surface level.
Yeah, but then that's not surface level. That's showing that your mum didn't teach you how to make roti.
For me, that would be a deep conversation, because my roti are horrible.
All right. I've never had a conversation about that.
So then what is the next layer down then? If it isn't your daughter's run away, your child's run away. So what is the above in the middle conversation then?
That is so deep. That, like, okay, whatever. That's your deep is too deep. Like, if that's surface level for you, that your daughter's run away, then that's too deep. I think you definitely need to come out. Okay, all right.
So then it's about interpretation. You might think that they're having a surface level conversation, but they might think that's a deep conversation.
You tell me where your daughter running away is not a deep conversation. That's not a surface level conversation. This is actually going back to your question earlier of, so what do you talk about?
People end up talking about the news. These days I've been hearing, like, even the older generation, they talk about Trump a lot.
Trump a lot?
Everyone is talking about Trump, and I'm thinking that back in the day, the older generation really wouldn't have been connected up with the news or something like that so much. They might be connected up, but they wouldn't have mentioned things that are happening, like wars and stuff. But it seems to be a big thing that there's a lot of news that is being talking about, and I think that surface level conversation, you don't go deep into what's happening into families and stuff like that.
Well, no, you could go deeper in there, because the reason they're talking about Trump at the moment, depending on when this podcast comes out, is the petrol prices are so high. So it's actually having a genuine impact.
Is that a deep conversation for you? That's the question then.
Well, this is how you could get deeper. So you could talk about Trump and the war, right? And this is where you can go deep. You then start talking about petrol prices, right? And then you could start talking about the cost of living and the problems that you're having. That starts getting deep as to the fact that you can't afford it anymore.
Why would you, as a South Asian, reveal that you can't afford to a family member? I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, because they might be, they might support each other or whatever, and that's what our organisation is about, talking about what's going on. But I'm saying, why would you all of a sudden say, oh, I can't afford this, I can't afford this?
This is a test for both of us. If we go into a conversation where it is service level, right, we're talking about Trump, because a lot of conversations start off with Trump. I mean, I was in a restaurant actually with some of my friends.
Oh, go on. Forget about your one. Right, my one. So I've been going suit shopping quite a lot.
Yeah.
For the last probably about a week or whatever. I've been going with different people, and suits, they're really expensive these days, like really expensive. But then the people that you're going along with, they're not your like immediate family members, these cousins or whatever. You don't want to reveal to them that you don't want to spend £400 or £500 on a suit, because you don't want to look cheap. Right? So then you're like, yeah, that looks good. You buy 10 of those. I'm not gonna. I would. But then that's the surface level, because you're pretending that They're probably thinking the same thing.
But
Right?
I've been there. So you're pumping each other up then. If they're thinking the same thing, but no one's saying it. I've been in the same situation, and I
Yeah.
ended up buying it.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. I'd be like, no, this doesn't look right. No, that's not my style, kind of thing. Then you start, then it's a case of, you're keeping up appearances. So you're not revealing that you can't afford this £500, but you think you're not so much you can't afford it. It's like you are not crazy to buy something for £500, wear it one day, and then, like, what are you going to do? Sleep in it? I did say to my daughter, she wanted to buy something, and it was really
Yeah, be
expensive.
quiet.
And I go, look, unless you're going to sleep in it every day, you're not buying it or wear it every day.
It's like in Friends, you know, when Monica buys the shoes. Remember that episode? You don't remember it? Okay,
Anyway,
fine.
okay, what was the story you were going to tell me before I butted in?
It was a Trump. We're going back to Trump. We've gone past it, but basically, I was in a restaurant. I'm starting talking about Trump, and like one of my friends was like, because I start getting a bit charged after a little while. I mean, you start getting a bit deeper. Your political thoughts start coming out, and she was just like, shh. But we are getting to the point where politics is, well, it's always been quite a hard thing to talk about. Like, where are your political views? I was watching something on social media where this woman found out that her front neighbor, or whatever you call them, was at a reform rally. And she was from the black community, he was from the white community. He's, I don't understand, like, what your problem is. And she's like, you're in at a racist thingy. But he's like, I don't, it's not racist. That was the sort of argument. And she was like, I can't believe you're here. So it's a bit of a tough one. Like,
I can't believe you're here at the. Was she there as well?
No, she wasn't there. She must have been going to the rally. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
The way she was having a go, there's no way that she was part of the rally, but she was shocked that he was there. But yeah, so politics has always been one of those things. You tend to hang out with people that have the same sort of political view as you, right? That tends to happen.
Yeah, because I remember there was a tutor that my son had, and he revealed that he was reform, basically. And I was shocked. I was thinking, okay, so I want to chuck you at the house now, kind of thing.
But do you think that's an issue? Because I've had a friend like that I was really close to, and then I realised their political views were not reform, but whatever it was. And I stopped talking to him, but I look back and I'm like, that was the wrong thing to do, because if they challenge you, at least you'll go away and think about that challenge and research. If you stay amongst people that have the same view as you, you're not really progressing your thoughts or your perspectives. And
But then I wouldn't have that person as a close friend, because obviously they're thinking in a certain way, a way that I don't think is right. I don't think there's anything wrong with having conversations with people that are different opinion and stuff like that, to understand their point of view of why they're thinking like that. But I wouldn't have someone that is close to me, like that is, for example, from the Reform Party. Like, why would you silly person?
But that's how you sort of exchange thoughts and perspectives. So is there anything wrong with that?
But then, like, for example, like, let's not sugarcoat it. Reform is a racist party. So, for example, they're South Asian and they're a reform, but I don't understand it, the logic. But when we're turning to politics here.
But it goes back to the whole thing of, should you keep relationships? So that person that you were talking to, should you have kept it surface level so that conversation never came out about their political views?
So just like this, I think it's gone too deep. So yeah, surface level is good. But then if you've got friends that think politically the same as you, then keep it, then you can go politics.
So certain people don't care about certain things that I do. And when they start talking about, I don't know, certain, Bollywood films or something, then I do stop talking about that because I'm like, we're going to not end up in the same place. And so if we want to carry on being friends, then it's probably best we don't fight. Whereas with others, like, we can go, like, we're learning off each other. But then it's because you're keeping it the same view every single time. Like, is there any problem in challenge?
Does that make the relationship
Like,
a bit mundane and boring because you're trying to keep away from that fight, basically? Or is it because you don't want to enter into that fight because you want to keep the relationship? Because I have been in certain circumstances where I've got a really close friend, and if we touch on a certain topic, we are total opposites on that topic, and I just make sure that we don't talk about it. And this friend I've had for years, and because we're good friends. I don't want to reach that bit where we stop talking.
But do you think that that's a problem on our part? Because the fact that I stopped talking to that friend because of the political view, I was at fault there, because actually I could have learned more. I could have listened to the opinion, gone away, researched
what the particular subject was about, and I think
it's going to be similar subjects.
Yeah, I
as
know,
to what
and
you're
then
talking
I
about
think
now.
that was the right move to make for me personally. If someone's racist or prejudiced, then why would you keep friends with them? I don't understand.
See, I think actually we should be associating ourselves with people with different views so that we can go away, research it, come back, and then have an answer for
my
the
life
thing.
isn't about researching and trying to prove them wrong. Sometimes you can't prove someone wrong. They're just stuck in their way.
It's not about proving them wrong. It's about you learning. And maybe you're wrong. I think we do need to get out of, it's that whole thing, people read The Guardian if they're on the left, they could read The Times if they're conservative, that
But maybe
kind of thing.
we like to bumble this cozy hour view thing. I've spoken to some people that just have got a different approach to life. For example, there's someone that I met and she lives on a boat, for example. And I was like, wow, that's such a different way of living. And then there was someone that's just just living around the world in a backpack. I met this person on the train. And yeah.
It's the same person you spoke about on the last Oversharing episode.
Oh, it is. But again,
he wasn't a friend, he's just a passerby that you spoke to, right?
But then it's good to have that conversation, because then it's like, okay, how do you do that? Like sometimes, but it's not, oh my God, how do you do that? It's like, oh my God, that's because I've had certain people that are like, oh, you don't eat, how do you live? If you don't eat meat, how do you survive? And it's like...
But can I ask you something? See, we've got really passionate about those things like politics and jet setting and all that sort of stuff, right? We've become really passionate about this conversation, and you can feel it in the energy of this conversation. But going back, if you're going to keep it surface level, we've both sort of drawn a bit of a question mark as to what are you supposed to talk about then? You need to be there because it's selfless service.
I don't think you can label it selfless service.
I think it's fantastic because it gives it a positive sort of view of, rather than the way I had it in my head when I was having that conversation of, I don't want to be there, why waste my time? But if you keep it as a selfless service thing, then you're doing something positive for the world.
No, then it sounds like you're pitying the person.
You're not pitying the person. You're putting your selfless service money in a bag so that when you die, you can talk to God and be like, look, I did this. I spent time with people. That's from my point of view, then you can whip that out and be like, I spent time with these people, even though I didn't want to be there, but it's my selfless service, right? I'm sticking to it. I like it. I learned
it makes you a nicer person. Take that away from...
Well, this was one thing that you said to me last week, actually, which made me think, right? You said some of the stuff that I say, including on the episodes, sometimes sound really hard, and I sound like a proper bitch, right? And I'm like, they are my thoughts, but you know me quite well, and I'm not that bad, and I'm pretty selfless service for most people. I mean, trust me, most people, right? Especially my family. Like, I do a lot of selfless service. That bag is full of selfless service.
Sound like it is because of the way you come across. You don't sound like a someone that like a really person. Quiet, reserved, humble. But then you don't shove it in someone's face and say that I've done this for you. So, you've never said that.
But I was surprised by that, because I'm like, and you were surprised by something I had said, even though you know me really well, and someone else had said something similar. And I'm like, well, think about the people that don't know me from this episode. They really must hate me. I'm a really horrible person on this episode, but I'm not actually that bad.
Thoughts you should keep inner, and you should blurt them out.
But if I'm talking to certain people, then it's that oversharing aspect, and I don't want to keep it surface level, but I will do it because it's my selfless service to the world. I think we've come to a nice conclusion. I'm good. I feel like I've got a bit of a revelation from something you said. So thank you very much. Because I just didn't understand. It helped me, because last week when I had the conversation, I'm like, we're two different people. I'm not going to say the D word because everyone gets really angry with me when I say the D word, because we're obviously quite two different people, right? And I was just like, I don't get it. Why would you stay service level? Why would you waste your time? I need to get deep. it gets interesting when you start hearing people's
Yeah.
thoughts and
Sometimes
their
you don't need
perspectives.
to go there because they don't want to share them.
Yeah, and we don't need to go there. You're right. Keep it surface level with certain people, because that's your selfless service. And on that
And
point,
goodbye from
it's
me.
goodbye from me.